Hello, hello. Welcome to Moving Through Menopause. I'm Philippa, and today I've got a superb, fantastic guest, Dr. Van Thielen. And do you know what? Stop. I'm going to start that again because is that how you say your name?
It's perfect, actually.
Oh, well, I'll start again anyway. Hello, hello, and welcome to Moving Through Menopause. I'm Philippa, and today I've got a fabulous, superb, wonderful guest, Dr. Van Thielen, and he's joining me so that we can talk all about menopause not being the end of things, but really a new beginning. It's an opportunity. So welcome, Dr. Van Thielen. I'm so excited to unpick your years of training and experience in health optimization and making midlife potentially the time of your life. So thank you for coming along for this chat today.
Thanks for having me, Philippa. It's a pleasure being here.
Oh, well, you're very welcome. And so you have a huge long list of things that you're exceptionally good at. Nutrition, you're a physician, you're interested in biohacking, which is really just around improving physical, intellectual performance, emotional performance as we traverse this experience of life. And so midlife, that can be a real time when the rug gets pulled out from under you, especially in menopause. And so many women can find themselves feeling like, this is just not what they had in mind at all. And feeling underwhelmed, maybe overwhelmed, actually. Let's try and reverse that. And how can we change the way that we think about this time of life?
Well, no, you hit it, you hit the nail right there. Because mindset is still the most important part. Yes, we have this imbalance of hormones that cause all these various symptoms that are not pleasant at all for women in menopause, but also for men in andropause, right? So we're dealing with that, and obviously we can talk about the therapies and the things that are out there on how we can balance that and feel better and have our energy and sleep well, and et cetera, et cetera. But it always starts with the mind, because the mind is our blueprint to our future, to our successes, to our failures. But the mind controls our physical body, our emotional body. It controls that. So it always starts with the mind, and it's about positive thinking. It's about positive emotions. It's about again, creating that blueprint of your future. And so if we constantly complain during the day and think about how bad we feel and about those negative symptoms, and then exactly that's our blueprint, and we always gonna feel that way. So with many of my clients, whether they're top athletes or whether they're on the other extreme cancer patients, it's about getting rid of labels, getting rid of holding on to the past, because we call many things that happened to us in the past, we label them as failures, but they're really not. They're lessons. And so what can we learn from those lessons so we can move forward, right? And it's about being pulled forward by the future. So what are your dreams? What are your goals? And even people in their menopause or newly retired people, many times they don't know what to do with their life. And when they were young, we always had those dreams, and we want to have these superpowers, and we want to be like this person, or we want to accomplish this and this. But then life really gets in the way, right? We have a family, we have kids, we got to go to work, we have responsibilities. And most of us really don't live their purpose. We don't live our dreams because we got to manage that family. We got to manage a business. We got to make money, and we're doing things because we have to, but not necessarily because we really enjoy them. Most of us don't find that true fulfillment in our job. And now suddenly we're retired and we have the time, and the kids are out of the house, and we don't have to work as much, and we don't know what to do with our time. But now, of course, we're getting a day older, and there's these symptoms, whether they're diseases or menopausal symptoms or whatever is going on. So obviously we need to manage those, but we need to start with mindset. Life is not over when you retire. That's when your life begins. You probably work for everybody else, right? And now it's time for you. So we need to, with my clients, I go back to, what were your goals and your dreams, or what are they? What were your dreams as a child? What were the superpowers that you wanted? What are your passions? What creates fire in your belly? And so many times I do conversations with my clients and figure out what they are because they forgot about them or they don't know them. And so we kind of get some fire and passion back into their belly. And once we have that and we kind of identify what their purpose in life is, then we need to make a plan, right? And we need to break that plan down. Let's say you want to do X, Y, Z, and we want to accomplish that in 5 years from now. Then we got to break it down year by year, month by month. And then what do we need to do tomorrow? A very small, attainable step that we can take that creates fulfillment, but also brings us that one step closer to that big goal or big dream. And now we have something to be passionate about. We know what our goal is, and we have a plan. Because if we don't have a plan, like most people, there's this uncertainty. We're living day by day. We don't have a direction. We don't have a goal. And so that's where the negative emotions come in, the uncertainty, the fear, the worry, financially or otherwise, right? And so that's what these negative emotions cause. What cause those mental quote unquote conditions or illnesses, anxiety, depression, stress, PTSD. And so those things, yes, there's drugs out there and yes, there's therapies out there, but by simply creating a purpose and creating a plan, all those negative emotions, all those things, they just melt away. And when there's suddenly an obstacle in the way of our goal and dream, we're going to attack it because we know that we overcome that obstacle. We're yet another step closer to our goals and dreams. And every day we live with fulfillment. But if we don't have a direction, a strategy, a goal and dream, and there's an obstacle, we throw our hands up in the air and say, oh my God, why me? Why this? Why that? I can't do this. I give up. Because we don't have the direction. We don't have that passion. We don't have that purpose. So usually that's the first step, whether it's about tackling menopausal symptoms, whether it's about overcoming a disease or cancer, whether it's about, climbing up higher in the ladder of your profession, or whether it's about accomplishing whatever goal or dream. That's the first thing. It's that mindset.
Well, you're not wrong, and but this is something that people find really difficult. First of all, we've got to give ourselves permission to have dreams, I suppose, and so this is outlined in your latest book, the IZOD method. Am I right in saying that?
Yes, the IZOD method. IZOD stands for in the zone, on demand. It's about living in the present moment. It's about being in flow state, right? It's about having the purpose and the goals and the dreams. And the book also goes about biohacking, which again is upgrading your body, your mind, to live longer, to live happier, to find fulfillment. So yes, that's what the book is about. And so it all seems difficult, but just like we talked about that plan, we need to break that down. We're not going to be able to have that all in place tomorrow, right? So what can we do today and tomorrow for 5 minutes, 10 minutes? It doesn't have to be hours that we have to work on this, but it's the consistency. And when I work with clients, because it's always the same elements, but we need to customize them. What works for you may not work for me, but we got to find out what you respond to, what works for you. And then we mold those elements in what I call a power routine. It's something that you do on a daily basis, maybe 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night before you go to bed, whatever it may be. And those small incremental steps pretty quickly make very significant changes in your life.
Yeah. Well, you would know all about that, being an Olympic swimmer and everything.
Well, actually, I was an Olympic swimmer. I helped Olympic swimmers achieve their best, but I do have a world record in
what was that then?
45+ age group. I'm 53 now, but
yes,
45+ age group, I swam a world record. Yes,
that was it. So, do you not get a medal for that then? No, it seems like you should get more than a medal.
You just get printed on a piece of paper, and until somebody else breaks it. Hopefully,
Hopefully not. Yeah, exactly. So, but to achieve those heady peaks of performance in middle life is no small feat, is it? And so that application to a training ritual program, the power habits, those habits of performance, high performance, are obviously something that you have mastered for yourself. But for the ordinary person, the ordinary man on the street, or woman, I should maybe say as well, on the street, we haven't got that heady goal of being a world record breaker, and we don't need to have that, do
No,
we?
not at all. Everybody's got
No.
their own goals and dreams, right?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
but what it requires is not necessarily intense physical training. It
Mm,
requires a daily commitment. How big or small it may need. It's the consistency, the incremental steps that gonna get you where you want to be, right? If you
yeah.
take too big of a steps, you usually don't get there, right? It is those
Mm,
incremental steps that make it happen, and anybody can do it. But again, is what is it that you want to do? Where will you find fulfillment? Because it's not the end goal. They always talk about the journey, right? It is the
mm,
journey. So when we say, I want to swim a world record in 5 years from now, hopefully those 5 years are not just very unpleasant experiences to then have that 5 minutes of recognition, right? It's
mm,
about
mm,
that journey. And so you need to break those goals down into small incremental steps that give you fulfillment on a daily basis. And many times, and this is one of the many things I do with people, but it just came to my mind right now. I ask people, when you get up in the morning, before you actually get out of bed, what's going through your mind? Is it,
mm,
I have to get up, I have to go to work, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to go to the gym? Or is it, I get to get up, I get to get to work, I get to do this, I get to do that? And unfortunately, we all know that most of us, it's the first one, right? That means you're not living your purpose, right? You need
mm,
to find something that you can't wait to get up and get something done, so you are a step closer to your dreams, your goals, or whatever it is that you want to achieve. And,
mm.
that will tell you a lot right there.
And it is hard if you are in the position where work is something that you have to keep doing. But so it may not be that it's the work that fires you up first thing in the morning, but hobbies can equally be the thing that we
Yes.
devote, this energy to. And I've been somebody who's always had hobbies, lots of hobbies, athletic pursuits, musical hobbies, and creative crafting type things that I do. So, as somebody with lots of choices, really, the work, it didn't
Yeah.
have to be the work that made me so excited to get up in the morning. And now more in middle life, I've started this online business, and never in my whole life up until this point could I have seen that coming.
Yeah.
But but I set myself a goal, and I dove in, and I've learned lessons along the way, obviously. But yeah, this is like I say, it doesn't have to be the work that's the thing that gets you up. Sometimes that's just we
Yes.
have work that we do. But physical, for me, this physicality in life is something that, the biochemistry of being physical cannot fail to give us, for the most part, a boost in the way that we feel, the biochemical changes. And so this is something that I really would encourage people to explore. And of course, you have a whole lot of experience doing it for yourself, but also, as you say, training others. And so for my clients, many people in midlife are experiencing pain, joint pain. Um, Perhaps they've been sporty, and they've got injuries that they've carried with them. And so it becomes a challenge sometimes that you're working with a problem that you then have to overcome to a certain extent in order to continue to be physical or to get physical. So this, for lots of people, that's such a barrier. That pain is the thing that stops them making that decision to be physical, more physical, to remain physical, whatever. But therapeutic movement practices is what I teach. And so, I think, like you said, there's levels in which we approach this
Yes.
thing. And it is
Exactly.
about that daily commitment to know that, for the first thing, first and foremost, movement can only be a good thing. Pretty much that can only be a good thing. And so the changes in the biochemistry, the changes in the physical body, ultimately that becomes then something that is self-perpetuating to a certain extent. But getting over that initial barrier for lots of people is a real challenge.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And you touched on a few excellent points there, because in my book, I talk about biohacking, which is, overcoming disease and then reversing age. When I get clients, I put them in three categories. And unfortunately, most of them fall in the first category, meaning they are in pain, or they're overweight, or they are diagnosed with some kind of an ailment or disease. So the first step is regaining control of our health, because again, we can't enjoy life, or we can't go move or do exercise or enjoy those, physical things if we're in pain. So we need to regain control of our health. That's step number one. Step number two, we're going to optimize our health, because we don't want to just be average or normal. No, we want to feel strong and vital and full of energy. And most people don't feel it anymore today. That's step number two, optimal health. And then step number three is biohacking, which means is only when we're in optimal health can we implement the biohacking strategies to maximize the benefits of those. And from a physical, mental point of view, biohacking means upgrading the body and the mind, but also objectively reversing our biological age. So when we get to a point where we're dealing with menopause and we're dealing with aging and back pain and things starting to just become a vicious cycle of more and more problems and more medications, we really need to step a little bit out of the box and listen to functional medicine doctors and coaches and mentors like ourselves and take control. That says you need to take control of your own health. You can point to the healthcare professionals and say they don't do their job or they don't know what they're doing. You can, look at the propaganda and the commercials of drugs on TV, especially in the United States, or you can point your finger at the FDA and organizations. But ultimately, you're responsible for your health and that of your loved ones. So step number one, take responsibility and get a little bit outside of that limited conventional medicine toolbox, which only usually has three tools: medications, injections, and surgeries. And guess what? There's thousands of tools outside of that very limited toolbox. And that's where we need to start exploring. And some of those tools are for free and they're very easy to do. It's going back to basics. So in my book, I talk about the 7 foundations, because there are no shortcuts. There are no silver bullets or magic bullets or pills or things that suddenly going to fix everything, and conventional medicine keeps on looking for those, even for cancer. Fix cancer patients all the time in a matter of months, but not with a magic pill, because it's never going to exist. It's about lifestyle modifications. And so when I talk about those 7 foundations, movement obviously is one of them, right? Because our body is what? It's a plumbing system. We have a circulatory system, right? We have 37 trillion cells, and each of these cells have hundreds to thousands of mitochondria, energy factories within each of those cells. So we got quadrillions of chemical reactions going on per second. And so thinking that we as humans can interfere and have a positive outcome is a little bit arrogant, I would say, right? So what we need to understand is that the body can heal itself, and our job is to put that body in balance, to give the body the tools so that it can do its job of healing itself and being in optimal health. And so that's why a lot of the things we know, and it doesn't cost much to do, but we just don't do them. And that's why I said we need to do it every day. So movement is one of those crucial things, because we're a plumbing system. We have a circulatory system. We have a lymphatic system, which is part of our immune system, right? And so we are designed to move. Stagnation equals disease. Because I got people that tell me all the time, oh, I go to the gym an hour and a half every day. And then I ask, and what do you do the rest of the day? Oh, I sell insurance. So you're sitting at a desk for 8 hours. From a health point of view, that's not healthy at all. We are designed to move. Stagnation is disease. It's that simple. So constantly move, walk around, play with the dog, go outside, dance. We cannot sit still and be sedentary. We need to move. And like you said, that stimulates all those physiological processes, right? Besides movement, plenty of water, clean water. You got where you live, you got to know what toxins are in there, but you need to have clean water. This is hydrogenated water too. That's another story. But we need clean water and drink plenty of it, because we're a plumbing system. Again, we don't want stagnations. We need to get things moving. We need to get the toxins out of our body, and we need movement. So we got clean water, we got movement, right? So that's 2 of the 7. The other thing that we need is air. Yes, we breathe air. We all breathe 21% oxygen, but the problem is 99% of us don't know how to breathe. The mouth is not designed to breathe. It's designed to talk and to eat. We have something in the middle of our face called the nose. That's designed to breathe. A normal breath, most people will be surprised to hear that, is 6 counts in through the nose, 5 counts in through the nose, and 6 counts out through the nose. That means if we do a little bit of math, we take an average of 5-6 breaths per minute. And right now, most of us take 16 to 22 breaths per minute. So we can increase efficiency by 300% just by learning, which you can do easily for free. There's YouTube, the best breath app on the market right now. You can download for free. It's called The Source, formerly the Breath Source, because all the top masters of the world are on the same platform. So you can learn how to breathe properly, increasing efficiency of oxygen by 300%. Doesn't cost you anything, because through the nose, you capture that nitric oxide that's sitting here, which is a dilator, getting that oxygen much easier into the tissues. You can learn how to increase your CO2 tolerance, because oxygen is not absorbed without CO2, without carbon dioxide. So that's breathing. Yes, we have air, but we need fresh air. We need to go outside, and we need to learn how to effectively use that oxygen in that air. And most of us don't. So we have water, we have air, we have movement. The opposite of movement is rest. We need to learn how to get in a deep delta sleep. Ask yourself, do I wake up in the morning refreshed and ready to go? Most of us will say, no, I don't. I still wish I could lay down there a little bit, and I feel tired and sluggish. That means you're not getting enough rest. And during sleep, sleep is restorative. That's where our cells and our body replenishes, repairs, and renews. I always use the analogy of a supermarket. If the people that restock the shelves go on strike only for one night, not going to work out very well. And that's what we do. We cannot replenish and renew properly. So we need to get to a deep delta sleep. How? I help my clients with many techniques and many things, and we'll find out what works for them. Many people, it's, these are just 2 simple examples. Number 1, if you eat, before you go to bed, your digestive system is going to have to work for hours. And if your digestive system and your body's working, guess what? You can't get into a deep delta sleep. So refrain from eating and snacking at least 3-4 hours before you go to bed. Another thing is people's mind keeps going, right? Oh, their mind is still going. It's right. Well, tomorrow I got to do this. I got to pick up this. Oh, I can't forget this. And so you can't fall asleep. So as part of my power routine, evening power routine, for example, I do a 1-minute visualization where I go in my mind through the next 24 hours. And at each point of contact, I make, the best decision. And so now when I do that before I go to sleep, I don't have to worry about tomorrow. And so there's many, many things that we can do to get to that deep delta sleep. So that's rest. So now we got 4, right? Movement, rest, water, and air, right? So now we got light, sunlight. Sunlight stimulates all biological, physiological, and nutritional processes in our body. The best analogy is look at all the animals in the Amazon, all the animals that live around the equator. They're vibrant, they're strong, they got all these colors, versus the opposite, an animal that doesn't see any light, a mole. They're even blind, right? So that's the impact of sunlight. And we having clothes on. I'm not telling people to start running around naked now, but in your own confinement of your house, wear shorts, take that t-shirt off, go outside, get that sunlight. We need that exposure of the sunlight. Next one, it's only one of the 7, diet, number 6, because many times people just talk about diet. No, it's only 7. It's important because I believe there's only one cause of all disease, and it's called toxemia. Toxemia literally means toxins in the blood, but in a little bit more detail, what it means is, as part of our daily metabolism of living, we obviously produce waste toxins. But in a normal organism, they're eliminated by the bowels, the kidneys, the skin, etc. So no harm is done. However, today, in today's society, we take in and we are exposed to far more toxins than the body possibly can eliminate. And therefore, If our body cannot keep up with elimination, there's an accumulation of toxins in our blood and our body. That's what's called toxemia. And research shows that these excess toxins or toxemia, there's two things. Number one, causes free radical damage because, or oxidative stress, because these toxins are stealing an electron from a healthy atom, which then becomes unstable, which we know as a free radical. Most people heard about free radicals. They can even cause damage on a DNA level. And more importantly, and even easier to understand, is now we are in a state of emergency because we can't keep up with elimination. And in conventional medicine, we have a name for that. It's called systemic or chronic inflammation. And now even conventional medicine agrees that over 90% of all diseases, including cancers, are directly related to this chronic inflammation and oxidative stress. So if we want to avoid all disease and be in optimal health, we simply need to keep toxemia in check. And theoretically, it's easy, right? What we do is we need to reduce the intake and exposure of toxins. From where? From man-made foods and man-made drinks, all the colorings and flavors and, GMOs and, I mean, the whole list of things that we should not put in our body. So man-made food and drinks, over-the-counter and prescription medication, they're all toxic to our body. Then our toxic household products, cleaning products, cosmetic things that we put on our face and our body, many of them loaded with toxins. And then last but not least, electromagnetic frequencies and radiation, which is our invisible threat. And what we need to do is we need to mitigate and reduce the intake and exposure of the toxins as much as we can, while simultaneously increasing the nutrients that do what? Neutralize free radicals, reduce systemic inflammation, and repair our DNA. And we don't have to be health freaks, but if we can just, tip that balance, guess what? We will be bulletproof against viruses and any diseases, cancers of the 21st century. So that's diet, nutrition. Don't have to be a health freak, but you got to tip that balance. And then last but not least, we already covered the mindset. Right? Those are my 7. And so your movement is a huge part of being healthy because everything needs to flow between the cells, the signaling. Stagnation equals disease. And so movement is quite the opposite of that.
Yeah, well, I must say you've summarized that integrated approach to health in a fabulously concise way that is really understandable for, your average human being. And, like you said, it really isn't rocket science, and it just requires commitment. And the thing that I find personally from my own experience is that feeling healthy is its own reward. And that when you start to feel differently, just in every moment of your day, that really is quite a powerful sensation that you almost don't really notice that you don't feel healthy until you do.
Yeah.
And and that can be one of the reasons why people find it difficult to make the changes, because you can't experience that until you've made some at least of those changes.
And it goes back to the mind, right? Because they think, oh, I can't do it. Dr. Mike can do it because he's a world record holder, but I can't do it. So it starts with the mind. If you say you can't, right? And they also think it's going to take a year to turn it around. No, a few weeks. And like you said, you suddenly don't feel tired in the couch anymore after you come back from work or whatever it may be. You feel that energy, that vitality. You go out in the sun. And if you're smart, you take your shoes off and you do grounding, because I mentioned those 7 biohacks, but you can stack them, right? So you go outside, which means sunlight. You breathe fresh air. You learn how to breathe that fresh air. You take your shoes off and get in contact with Mother Earth, whether it's the grass or the beach or whether you're in open water, whatever it is. And now you're grounding, you're discharging that excess negative energy back into Mother Earth. And you're going to feel $1,000,000 just by doing that. We got away from that. But look at all the animals in the wild, not your pets. They got the same diseases. But look at all the animals in the wild. They don't have any of the diseases. They don't die of cancer. They're not overweight. They don't have COVID. They don't have bronchitis. They don't have, autism. They don't have any of those things. They either die a natural death or, of course, they get eaten by a predator. But, they're all in perfect health, because that's the difference between Animals in the wild and humans, the difference is awareness. We humans, we have an awareness, which means is we have the freedom to choose our response to any stimuli or stimulus. And unfortunately, we've become slaves of, choosing the wrong response over and over again, which has put us as individuals and as a species in a very detrimental ill health state today. But fortunately, we got that same power, that same freedom to choose our response, to turn it all around. And we can turn it around in a matter of a few weeks. Worst case scenario, if you have cancer, in a few months, you can turn that around. It's your choice. And that's what's so powerful.
Yeah, no, it is. I choose that particular choice, definitely every day. There's no other option in my world. But you mentioned that was really only stage one of this process, and that, once we get to that place of boosting our health, and then there's even more that we could think about doing to feel optimal in our daily lives.
Yeah, I mean, again, once we overcome, because in conventional medicine, we're chasing symptoms, we're chasing disease. When I have clients, cancer, I got lupus patients, I got rheumatoid arthritis patients, you name it, adrenal fatigue, exhaustion, it doesn't really matter, because my approach is customized, but basically puts in those principles into their power routine. And so every morning they're going to implement those things. And suddenly the body will get rid of the lupus or the rheumatoid arthritis or reverse the cancer or whatever it may be, right? Again, I'm not curing those things. I'm putting the body in a position where it can resolve that itself. And that usually happens. And then it's about optimizing or even biohacking, right? It's become superhuman because we have a chronological age, and we got to get away from that number too. It's our date of birth, and it's totally not important, because look around you. We can look at 62-year-old people, for example, and we can see that they're on 2 pages of medicine, and they're always in and out of the hospital, and they look like they're 90, and they can't do anything anymore, and they need help and services all the time. And then we got our 90-year-old who still plays 18 holes of golf, and they're 100% witty, and they're with it. So we already can see by just looking around us that chronological age or your date of birth does not matter. It's your biological age. It's how you feel. It's your health span or lifespan. So what we need to do is we need to improve our quality of life, right? We need to be happy, and we need to increase that biological age. And so what we do is, from a science-based point of view, we're going to now implement, whether it's a few supplements or whether it's a few therapies that have been proven to reverse our biological age, and we can objectively measure that. There's many ways of measuring that. For example, I luckily am not diagnosed with any disease, and I'm 53, and I'm still doing a lot of cool stuff, but it's about prevention many times, right? So for example, I'm looking at it, I inhale molecular hydrogen 1 hour every day, right?
1 hour.
I'm finishing my book on molecular hydrogen as we speak, so it will be available on Amazon pretty soon. But the amazing benefits of a very small medical gas that has no potential side effects. You can't overdo it. You can do it at home. You don't need a doctor. It doesn't have to be expensive, but the amount of therapeutic benefits it has, not in overcoming illness, but also in longevity and aging and energy, how it really is able to get inside of the cell, unlike any other nutrients or even antioxidants like your vitamin C, D, and E. They're all charged, and they're too big. They cannot cross the cell membrane. But hydrogen is not charged. It's so small, it easily gets into the cell, protects our DNA, our RNA, our mitochondria, our proteins, easily can enter the blood-brain barrier and do the same thing there, enter the brain cells, stop Parkinson's, MS, stroke, traumatic brain injury, dementia, Alzheimer's in its tracks. So it has amazing benefits. And so that's just an example of many that I can talk about that we can do and implement on a daily basis that will reverse our biological age. Our chronological age will keep on going, but it's not important. How old is our physiology, our biology, and what's the quality of what we can do because we stay in balance and our body functions optimally, right? Homeostasis.
Homeostasis. It's what we're designed to do. But as you say, modern living is meaning that the body just can't keep up anymore with all the inputs that it's getting from our environment and our lifestyle, the way in which our lifestyle has changed beyond recognition. And so I think this has just been a fantastic tour of your philosophy. And you know what? It's working for you, is what I would say.
Thank you.
You know, you look great. It's working for you. And you know, like we said, it's how we feel every day that really it makes this stuff so worthwhile. I find it difficult sometimes, you know, when I know this for myself. It's been my life for over 20 years since my son received a cancer diagnosis when he was only 1 year old. And, you know, he had treatment, horrible medical treatment, but thank the Lord, you know, he's healthy and fit today. But from that moment forward, I did as much as research as I could into all the lifestyle approaches that we could take as a family to really secure this healthy future for him. And you know what? It really does work if you do it, is what I would say to that.
It works every time. If you do what you're supposed to do, it works every time. Your body is amazing.
It
And
is.
just the human interaction is or intervention is not going to change it. It's you, you know, doing whatever it takes to put your body in that balanced state so it can offend any invaders or any disease.
So what we know is this stuff works if you do it. And you know what? From my perspective, the lifestyle that I lead is thoroughly enjoyable. It's you know, filled with physicality, hiking, biking, swimming, really grasping life by the horns. And regardless, as you say, of your biological age. And so this life, that when you choose health, you really choose life. And so thank you so much for sharing so much of your knowledge that you've highlighted, that you've laid out there in your book. I'm definitely going to be seeking that one out. There will be links in the show notes for people to access you and the materials that you have, because that's not the only book, is it? There, I think you've published 8 books already. So and another one on the way. We'll keep
That's
our
right.
eyes. Yeah, we'll keep looking out for that one. Well, unless there's anything else that you would care to add at this point.
No, again, for the listeners, if you have listened this long so far, congratulations, because the average, attention span today is 6 seconds. So you did an amazing job. But if you did, implement some of these things, not all of them, just take one little thing that caught your attention and start implementing, and you will see changes quickly. So it's about doing, right? If you learn and not do, you really didn't learn. So let's do something. Let's make some changes.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. On that note, I'm going to end our conversation and say thank you so much to you, Dr. Mike Van Tielen, for joining me on Moving Through Menopause today. Please share this episode. Oh, thank you so much. Please share this episode with a friend, with a family member, and with someone you love, and help them to join us in this healthy lifestyle that we really value and benefit from. Thank you so much again. Bye for now.